Welcome to the Tech Report podcast, where we help businesses survive, thrive, and create value.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tech Report podcast, the podcast that is all about helping businesses survive, thrive, and creating value, especially in our trying environment here today. So I'm going to be your host today. My name, again, is Brad Stoller. So today, our topic is all about the common mistakes that business practice owners, they make when they're trying to sell or merge with another strategic partner. So this is the stuff that nobody tells you about, but has enormous implications on the next chapter of your life if you're considering selling or merging. So I'm really excited today because our guest is one of the top strategic deal makers. I'm just going to go on a limb and say in our country. He's has so many deals he's worked on, primarily in the small and what we call mid-cap markets and mainly healthcare. So he's worked in the industry for over 28 years, the majority of his time spent mainly in the physical therapy and other physician-provided segments as well. So his experience, gosh, he's been at this, hard to believe, it's 20 years already in the M&A arena from all different sides, that as a buyer, as a seller, and of course, as a consultant. So today we're lucky to have Sonny Crumpler. Sonny's worked with multiple physical therapy platforms, public and private equity companies, equity firms, financial lenders, brokers, and consultants to assist in the structuring, negotiating, and performing all the many facets of the due diligence phase, which is always the fun part, and to making sure that the clients get the absolute best possible deal for their situation. So Sonny's one of the founding partners here with Transitional Equity Consultants, and his primary role, we call ourselves Tech for short, is assisting our clients with attaining the right match as a partner, both financially and from a cultural standpoint, and making sure that those deals are structured properly and negotiating the agreement that's the most beneficial to our clients, and then walking them through the due diligence, which a lot of people underestimate just how important that is. And of course, we have to keep everything legal as well. So it's just a huge, huge undertaking. We're so lucky that Sonny's part of our team and not somebody else. So it's my pleasure to welcome Sonny Crumpler to the Tech Report podcast. Sonny, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Good morning, Brad.
Well, good morning. So Sonny and I, we've known each other for quite a few years now, and I've had the pleasure to work with Sonny in a lot of deals. But Sonny, you've helped a lot of our clients for what they really, really needed to find a great match. You've also helped them when it comes to realistic valuations. And I know you're really passionate about helping our clients get the best deals they can possibly get. And sometimes it's not exactly what they're expecting. Many times it's far greater than what they're anticipating. And sometimes we just simply find out that, maybe they're just not ready financially yet. So now, we talked a little bit before today, coming up with some of these common themes. And you've seen these hundreds of deals that you've worked on. So that's what we're going to be diving in today. So before we do dive in, Sonny, any thoughts before we just dive right in here?
No, it's just always a really big decision for any client that is trying to think about either selling their practice entirely or looking for a partnership and sell a portion. Generally speaking, it's always a majority portion. I'd say it falls between the 60 to 80% is the norm. Most buyers or suitors want that because they have the client or the partner they're going to be with. They'll have skin in the game. So it's really it's a nuance, but generally speaking, for the most part, we can get most of the time to people what they want.
Awesome. So great. So, well, I know one of the first things that you discuss with the clients is the importance of setting realistic expectations right from the start. So can you talk to us about why it matters to work with somebody who truly understands the industry, the market, and real world valuation multiples rather than just as you were joking around about this, but right, why not just go on Chat GPT or Grok or one of those other AI formulas or Claude and just come up with all these answers and supposedly points in the right direction? Why is this such a big deal?
Yeah, it is, there's a couple of different little parts to that question. One is the unrealistic expectations, and sometimes very realistic expectations. But what you have to do for the most part is understand the market and what the multiples are out there in that particular arena, because it's going to be totally different in a mature industry like physical therapy right now than say 2 years ago when podiatry was still on an upswing. So it's a lot of different factors come into play here, but it does drive me crazy when people go to Chat GP or whatever AI platform and type in whatever practice typical multiples, but they don't take into account about 10 different things. What state is it in? What's the reimbursement like? How big, how many clinics are there? What is your EBITDA? What's your top line? Just a ton of different things. I had a client a number of years ago, probably early on, maybe 10 years ago, had PT, had fantastic, like 20 something locations, and it was in the Midwest. And, they were saying that, and thought we had a great client. And I know that there was a lot of demand to try to partner with those guys. But the owners wanted, we found out later, they wanted a multiple close to 20. And, the point being is that the only people that get 20 multiples are somebody that's a multi-billion dollar company on the New York Stock Exchange. So if you get to that, maybe we can get a 20 multiple. But that's kind of where that falls into play a little bit about the, realistic expectations. A computer is not going to be able to tell you what the real market is. They can give you a lot of wonderful information and a baseline. But, it just really kind of depends, and you have to work your way through that.
Yeah, exactly. For example, here's just a little in my own personal life. We're about to sell our house, so we go on to Zillow. It gives you one value. We go to realtor.com. Oh, I like that one better because the value they're showing is a lot higher. And then we go to Trulia, and it's like we get depressed again. It's
Yeah.
like it's all over the place, and it's all an algorithm, and none of it really makes any sense.
Well, and that is I hadn't thought about that before, Brad, but I'm going to use that with some other clients in the future because, I have an elderly mother and she's had to move into assisted living, so we've had to sell her home, and that's kind of fallen into my lap. And to your point, you guys are selling a house, but it was I went to Zillow, I went to First Real Estate, and in this particular example, the values that I got for her home that they said what it was worth was like 375,000, and then the other one was 369. The home sold for 325,000,
Ooh,
and it sold
awful.
in 2 weeks. So it wasn't like it wasn't. It's just that sometimes that information that you get is just wrong.
Right.
So that's anyway. I love what you brought up there, and I'm going to try to use that in the future as well.
Sounds good. So yeah, there's a lot of things, and I use AI all the time. But
Sure.
even when you are Cursive is one of those programs out there you can subscribe to it and it teaches you how to use AI. But
Yeah.
they do warn you, especially when it comes to the accounting and financials, go a little bit at a time because boy, does it ever make mistakes, and you've got to
Oh
catch it.
yeah.
It's just like having a staff member and brand new. They're going to make some mistakes, so it takes somebody with a trained eye to kind of catch that, and never rely on that, or you can get in some serious trouble, right?
Agreed.
Gotcha. So another thing you wanted to make sure we talked about a little bit today is one of the things that I know again you're passionate about this, but people come to us, and when they get to your level, when they start talking, they really don't understand what it is that they're really wanting, or they don't even understand what's available out there as far as like selling the entire practice or partnering with somebody, the partnership model. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? And we've done all the above, but talk to us a little bit about I guess
Yeah.
how you convey that with your clients and what's some of the things that are important that maybe they should consider.
Sure. And from a buyer's side, or I call them suitor, from the suitor side, there's generally two different avenues, venues that you can go down. One is what I call, the marketplace operator, somebody like, I don't want to use examples on our podcast this morning, but somebody that's a true operational. And the second one is a private equity, private company backed, and they're building a platform and they add to that platform and they go forward. The interesting thing is that the vast majority of the time, it doesn't matter which one of those two that you're looking to talk to. They want you to stay on because what they're really buying most of the time is you. Now, I'm not going to say that's 100% of the time, but I'll bet it's 90 is that they're buying the capital that they're really getting is you. It's not necessarily the equipment in the facility. If you're a doctor, the x-ray machines or whatever, if you're a therapist, the exercise machines, blah, 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 or the building or the facade or whatever. It's really the people in the clinic and the owners that know how to run it. They only want to partner with people that are successful. And most of the time that the people that are looking to try to partner take a little bit of chips off the table, but continue to build, those are the ones that want to keep, a part of that, equity. So I think that's really critical in understanding, do you want to be part of a platform where it's going to be you're an add-on and you're continuing to build, or do you want to be part of a company that's an operator of this particular type practice, a dentist that has a dentistry company that has 200 locations over 40 states. There's no yes or no or good or bad between the two. It's just which one is that's your preference, and then kind of diving into, what are the nuances of that. So that's the best way to answer that.
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, so let's just pretend for a second. I own 3 locations in the medical spa industry.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's say I don't know, maybe I'm only 40, 45 years old. I still feel pretty young. I have a lot of energy and I really, really, really love what I do. Why should I ever consider partnering with somebody when I can kind of grow on my own? What are the advantages? Why would you ever want to consider partnering with somebody else?
Well, most of the time it kind of falls into a couple of different buckets. One is, are you just simply tired of doing the administrative things, dealing with payroll, dealing with human resources, dealing with recruitment and relocation? Okay, you want to go from 3 clinics to 10 one day. That's going to require capital. That's going to require loans. That's going to, so those are the primary 3 or 4 different reasons why you might want to sell part of your practice, take some chips off the table for your future, but still be heavily involved in growing it from that 3 to 10 in the example that we just used.
Okay, so you said sell part of the practice. So you're saying that I don't necessarily have to sell everything here, but I can sell a portion of it, keep on
Absolutely.
going. Now, how does that work?
I mean, generally speaking, most of the people that want to do a partnership, and there again, it kind of comes on both sides, is I'm going to say it probably falls in they want to buy 60 to 80% where you retain 20 to 40%. And the reason why, again, is the skin in the game kind of thing that you're still heavily involved. You have a reason to be heavily involved. You have a motivation to be heavily involved. So it works out for both sides. Works out for the client, our client, the seller, because now he or she has something to look forward to build, to maybe get something in the future for themselves that's maybe worth more than what they sold to begin with. And then on the other side, the suitor, they want somebody to be heavily involved and have a reason and motivated to do that because it ensures the success of what they have just bought.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, this kind of leads to another topic. You felt there was a lot of misunderstanding out there, but when you are partnering, for example, a lot of times we all know about the private equity back, or at least we've heard of it, but there's a difference between private equity backed companies versus strategic standalone companies.
Correct.
And a lot of people just don't understand what's the difference and why does that matter to me? So
It's
talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. That's not necessarily a really easy question to answer, but I can give an example that maybe will illustrate what the primary difference is. Most of the time, a strategic operator, as we were discussing earlier in the conversation, they're going to have multiple, I'll say units, but clinics or facilities or whatever across, many states, highly likely. And they're going to be centralized because it's almost impossible to do something, nationwide and be decentralized. It's just not cost effective. So they're going to be centralized. They're going to have the way they do things, and you're going to have to adapt to that. Some people have an issue with that. Some people don't. Some people can adapt to it. Maybe the way you're adapting is a better way of what you've been doing. If you're open-minded, maybe that's the best thing to do. So I think that that's the primary reason from the strategic buyer per se is they're going to have a way they do things, and they're going to want to try to, generally speaking, again, generally, it's not always, uh, to try to follow along the ways that they have in their operational that way of doing things. The private equity side that's doing, say, a platform, and they're building to potentially, go from, I don't know, 10 clinics to 50, whatever. Um, it- they don't know the business, and they recognize that, and they know that you, the owner, are the expert. So most of the time, they're not going to come in there and try to tell you what you have to change and what needs to be done. Now, again, nuances. There's going to be there's going to be some of that that's going to happen, but for the most part, they know that you know the local market, and you know how to get the patients, you know how to treat people, because if you didn't, they wouldn't be interested in you in the first place. So I think that's the primary difference between the two.
Sounds like a strategic is more of, hey, come join us. And a private equity says, here's some money, keep growing. Is that, that's
It's
kind of rude, but is that fair?
To to a degree, it is. I mean, you have. I think you always have to keep in mind, even on the private equity backed, they have a goal in mind. There's going to be a recapitalization event at some point down the road. Generally speaking, it's 3 to 7 years, with an average of 5 to 6 years, and then another large company comes in, and they recapitalize, and they continue to move forward and continue to build and get bigger. But I think for the most part, it is. It's not necessarily, here's the money, now go, keep doing what you're doing. I think it's kind of a little bit of a combination. You know the market, as I said, you know how to run the business. We want you to continue to do that. But, there are some things that we think that we've had experience with that we feel is a better way to do things. And we want you to adapt those as well. So maybe not as much as a strategic, but definitely some of it there.
So when you deal with clients and maybe they're not sure which direction to go, maybe they came in thinking, well, I think maybe I'll just see what I can sell the business for. And after they talk to you a little bit, they start, whoa, 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 hang on a second. You mean I don't have to sell it all, but I can still come out farther ahead if I, wow, join a strategic or a private equity? Hmm. So how
You
do
know,
you go about helping clients figure out which is the right thing for them?
Well, that there's a really, again, we're going to talk in generalities here, not like
Right.
everything. What I'm about to say is just that's the way it is, because that's not the way it is. But from a general standpoint, really interesting and distinct point there. If you have a strategic, the most of the time, what they're going to do is they're going to want you to, keep the skin in the game, like we said, retain a portion of the company. Let's say it's a 75-25 deal. They're buying 75% of your business. You're going to retain 25%. You're a strategic operator. More than likely, what that means is you're going to continue to operate that in the market that you're in and grow, but you're going to get to retain 25% of the profits because you own 25% of that organization. Not the buyer, but your company, and as you build it. So that means cash distributions, whether that's quarterly, annually, whatever, generally speaking, again, you're going to get that. Now, the flip side, you have a private equity backed company, excuse me. And say, again, our 75-25, they come in, they purchase 75% of your business, and you retain 25% of what I call, or what most people call, the mothership, which is the
Hmm.
company that's, above it all.
Right.
So the beauty of that is likely not going to get the 25% in distributions. But as they build that company, your 25% might be worth, let's say a particular company has a $10 million EBITDA and you have 1 million. So, they'll go through their calculations and they will assign what your 25% is worth in their company. Now they build that company in 5 years and it's $100 million company. Well, it's 10 times what it was when you came in. So when they recapitalize and they have another private equity come in there, you get the windfall on your 25%. So that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, that sounds kind of attractive. If I'm a younger individual and I own, let's say, 3, 4 locations, and I really have aspirations to go to 40 or 50, I might not be able to do that on my own. So I guess I can keep on growing a little bit here and there, but at some point, if I want to get big and then cash out, later on in life, this isn't a bad way to go, is it?
No, and it's never guaranteed. I mean,
Right.
I've seen it doesn't happen often because these guys are really good at what they do, but it has happened. So there is risk involved there, but there's also potentially, huge rewards as well.
Well, it sounds like the best way to make sure that they don't take too much risk, if they do it themselves, all bets off. But if they get somebody that has experience, well, there aren't very many people that have your experience. I just know how long you've been at this, and you're excellent at it. We're lucky to have you. But if they have somebody like you in their corner, that risk is going to drop tremendously because you know the inside and outside. I'm maybe building you up here. I'm sorry about that, Sonny, but dang it, you've earned it. that's that's kind of important, I guess. If I was the owner, is that fair?
I mean, I think the way I look at life, and it doesn't matter what kind of decision I'm making. Maybe we're looking at buying another home. Maybe we're looking at buying a car. Maybe we're, whatever. I want, and I'm this type of person. I think most people are. The You can never, generally speaking, have too much information. Why would you not gather anything and everything you can? So if, like, I think I know a good bit about physical therapy. I've had 8 orthopedic operations. I've worked for a PT company, and bought and sold many. But I know that there's so much more that I don't know. So if I'm talking to somebody that's in physical therapy and I can get some additional information, even if I'm not trying to sell something, I'm just going to be better off for it. So why would you not do that? Why would you not have that same mindset if you're looking at potentially partnering with somebody?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. So
if you have been an M&A person and you happen to own a business and you've done this multiple times, in that example, maybe you don't need somebody like us or me. But that's in my experience, that's probably 5% of the time.
yeah, fair enough. So last thing you wanted to make sure we go over while we've got you here is when people sell or merge, their willingness or unwillingness to adopt or adapt a different way to run their business after
Mhm.
somebody purchases that majority stake. Talk to us a little bit about that because there's some adjustment to go on here, and we have to be realistic about the expectations here. So,
Yeah, and
share a little bit about that.
yeah, I apologize. I jumped in there too quick, but I always try to talk to people on the a little bit on the front end, a lot on in the middle part of the process, and then again before the deal is signed, kind of go over those things with them again to set expectations, because the overwhelming majority of the time, whichever direction you go, private equity or operators, at the end of an operated based company, at the end of the day, there's going to be changes and there's going to be hurdles that you're going to have to jump over, and there's going to be some challenges. What you need to do, what you need to try to do, is to utilize people like us, maybe like me and others, etc., that know these companies and can tell you, let me tell you what you should expect. The first 3 months as you transition your employees to a new payroll system, you're going to have a new EMR. That's going to be brutal. But there is another, you're going to come out the other side. There is the other side, and it's going to be better. And if you want, how do you know that? Well, then that's where Um, you have to reach out to different people that have done these deals with references and talk to doctors, physicians, therapists, whomever that have done something with that company that you're looking to do something with, and ask them, okay, what happened in the first 3 months? How bad was it? What was the EMR transition like? What was payroll like? How much did they try to change how you treat patients? That kind of thing. But to the base point of your question was, you know, our base point of your conversation right then was, you know, it is a challenge. It's not going to be exactly like it was. And the more information you get and the more educated you are on that, the easier it'll be to go through it.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, Sonny, hard to believe, but boy, time flies when you're having fun. We've been
Yeah.
here kind of our allotted time here, but I just want to kind of sum up again. I think what I understand, what I've heard here today, if I had to wrap it up, get an advisor that knows their stuff inside and out. It more than it pays, dividends of any type of fees that you'll ever be charged.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you got the wrong advisor.
Right.
So before we close here, Sonny, what have any last, I guess, words of wisdom for all those? It doesn't have to be medical, like any business, I guess, but before you think about selling or merging, what's something overall you kind of like to close out here today with?
I think probably the thing that I run into the most is you need to be prepared to answer this question. Are you okay with working with others when you have always answered to yourself? And if you are, then it's something you probably should explore. But if you know deep down inside that you are not and you're going to be miserable, I would tell you on the front end, this is not for you. And that's something that we really didn't talk about, but it's incredibly important. And I think that's kind of, words of wisdom, if you will, that are you prepared to become a partner? Because that's what you're really doing. Whether you're selling 100% of your business and you're continuing to operate it, or you're selling a portion of your business and continue to operate it, you're still partnering with somebody. And that means working with others. And, technically speaking, it means you might be reporting to somebody else. But that's the point.
Fair enough. So, boy, this is a great episode. Sonny, I'm so glad. We waited a long time to get you on here. So excited to have you. So, have any questions? Best thing to do if you're thinking of buying or selling, and maybe it's not today, but down the road, which is always a good time to, start early, not wait till the last minute. Um, Give us a call. Set up what we call one of our discovery calls, where we'll set. Usually, it's about 30 minutes, just to kind of get a feel for your company, see if there's even a fit. Maybe you're not ready yet, but we got to be honest with you up front. If you are ready, then we talk about next possible steps. It's pretty simple. So
Perfect.
that's about it. So, Sonny, thanks again for joining us.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it, Brad.
All right. Well, this is Brad signing out for Tech Report. We'll see you on the next episode.
Take care.